Today we are making the best meatloaf, and my
So we need 2
voice
cups of
thing was not working, so I'm going to show you how to do this by me talking as I'm going. So first of all, in a small bowl, you need 2 eggs. Okay, now I'm going to go throw the eggs away, wash my hands, and then coming back. Okay, you need 3/4 cup of Italian breadcrumbs and a 1/2 cup of milk. And you're just going to stir this together, and you're going to set this off to the side while you're getting everything else ready. So just kind of coating the breadcrumbs like this. I stir a lot. All right, I was just making sure I get those coated. Okay, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to, cap the milk. And then we're going to make the hamburger part. Okay, so this is a sweet chili sauce. So you can buy this, I'll link where I got this from, but that's what makes the meatloaf taste so good. So we're going to do a tablespoon of that in the meatloaf. And then I'm going to take 1.5 pounds of ground beef. So we get ours at the Locker plant. So ours looks just a little bit different than you would buy it in the store. We get a bulk beef every year. It's a lot cheaper than buying, and actually the meat it actually tastes better. It's a lot cheaper than buying it individually in the store. Okay, then we need a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I was having trouble with that cap in this video. It's funny when you go back and watch these videos how slow motion this goes. Okay, and then we need pepper. So I'm just going to fresh grind some pepper in here.
We need parsley and kosher salt.
And I think I probably forgot my spoon. Oh no, I didn't. I went to go find parsley, kosher salt, which is in the recipe. I think it was a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt.
Okay, so we're going to mix this.
All right, I'm going to mash all this together.
Okay, we're going to add this.
And then I'm going to add back in our mixture of the breadcrumbs, eggs, and milk. So the breadcrumbs hold the hamburger together into, the classic meatloaf shape. Now this meatloaf is just a little bit different because we are not using a meatloaf pan or a loaf pan, because a lot of the juices in meatloaf will go back and kind of make meatloaf a little mushy. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking just a small pan. I coated it with tin foil. And then I'm going to make the loaf into an 8 by 4 inch loaf on this pan. So what happens here is the juices will kind of come off the side instead of going back into the meatloaf like in a traditional meatloaf pan. So the meatloaf ends up being a lot more crispy, and the top of it's a little bit crispy and more of a little bit dry than the traditional like meat soaked in a pan. So I do make meatloaf in a loaf pan. I have a really good recipe for a sweet and sour meatloaf. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the loaf. Okay, now I'm going to bake it at 375 for 40 minutes. Okay, now we're going to make the topping. So cook it for 40 minutes. And then we're going to make the topping. So we need a 1/2 cup of the sweet chili sauce. And then a 1/2 cup of ketchup. I'm just about out of ketchup in this. So I'm using this simple ketchup, the Heinz simple ketchup. It has less sugar in it. You know, we're trying to kind of watch how much sugar we're ingesting. All right, so then that, it's not sugar-free, but it has less sugar in it. And then I'm adding sugar now. So I'm just adding like probably like a tablespoon at the most of brown sugar. Okay, so then you just set this off to the side so it's ready to go when the meatloaf's done. Okay, now the meatloaf is done at 40 minutes at 375. So now I'm going to take my sauce and pour it over the top. I need an overhead camera, it'd be much better. And then I'm going to put it back in the oven at 375 for another 15 minutes. And then it kind of just, you'll see how it just sits there and bubbles like that. And then you want to let it sit on the counter for about 5 minutes to caramelize. So that's what it looks like when it comes out. And it looks like a blob of meat, but trust me, it is fantastic. All right, that is it. And then let me show you the finalized picture.